This is Ian from Lean Media. Today I want to talk about two huge mistakes Amazon sellers make when they grant access to their Seller Central account to other service providers. If this video helps, please take a moment to like it and follow me. Let's get started. What we're looking at right here is a user permissions page. And as I've explained in other videos, this is how you grant access to other service providers. And you can see I have 4 other people who've been granted permission. One of them is a backup account for myself. The other one is one of my employees. So I only have 2 other service providers that currently have access to my account. And the first mistake that Amazon sellers make is they grant access to somebody who should not have access to your Seller Central account. They'll add the name, they'll add the email address, they'll give this person access to your Seller Central account, including information that's very valuable and potentially very damaging to you, and they give it to the wrong person. And when I say the wrong person, I mean somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, or a service provider who's actually breaking Amazon's terms of service. And oftentimes, what these people or what these organizations are, they're virtual assistants who don't know what they're doing and might break something or cause a violation of your Amazon Seller Central account. Or they're an organized service that is actively doing something wrong. Like they know they're breaking the terms of service and they just don't care. They're just trying to make money. And we've seen this in the past, not me personally, but I've seen other sellers get really tripped up by granting access to some supposed guru service that they'll get access to your data and they'll do something that's really against Amazon's terms, whether it's scraping data, whether it's doing something bogus with the reviews, whether it's sending out communications to Amazon customers that should not be sent out. They'll break the rules, or they'll skirt with disaster. A lot of sellers don't understand that they're doing this, or they think it's legitimate because, hey, this service provider, their website looked professional, or they have hundreds of other customers. That doesn't matter. And in particular, these services that used to kind of get access to your account and then do things with communicating with sellers or trying to do an end run around Amazon's restrictions on contacting sellers caused huge problems for the sellers who hired those services. So that's problem number 1, granting access to the wrong service provider. Problem number 2 is actually related to the permissions that you give the service providers, even if they're legitimate. So what we're looking at here, these are the user permissions for one of my service providers. And you can see that there's three or four categories: none, view, view and edit, and admin. I would very strongly suggest when you're granting different levels of service to service providers, ask yourself, do they really need access to certain types of services that you need, like managing refunds, Prime exclusive discounts? Okay, you can see right here that this particular service provider, they have no access to Prime exclusive discounts. And frankly, I don't want to give this service provider access to Prime exclusive discounts because they may end up costing me money that I can't afford to lose, or they really may not have expertise or any reason to be in Prime exclusive discounts. Conversely, you can see that some other types of permissions I've granted to this particular service provider, including view and edit this is for managing refunds. Okay, so in that case, this may be a service provider who needs to have access to that. They need to be able to edit this type of information on your Seller Central account. So I made the call to give them access. Sometimes when service providers have contacted me, and typically what they do is they will send me a screenshot of this page saying which permissions that need to be accessed. Either in view and edit status or view status, never in admin status. I'll get to that in a minute. But basically, I'll look at that, and then I'll run through and I'll make the changes. And then I'll ask myself, do they really need access to manage refunds as a view and editor? Do they really need view access for some sensitive piece of data? And it's okay for you to go back to the service provider and ask them about it. And I've done that myself. So that's the second mistake that some Amazon sellers make, is they'll give access for very sensitive information, or access to edit stuff, or even worse, making admin changes that is really, really hard to undo if something bad happens. So it's your right as an Amazon seller to ask service providers, do you really need edit access to, for instance, loan registration? Can you just get by with view registration? And if you determine, or even better, no registration. So, and if you think, well, actually loan registration, that's really not that service provider's bailiwick. I don't want them in there. then you just select that as none. Okay, and it's okay to do that. So those are the two areas that you really need to be careful when you're granting access to service providers to your Amazon Seller Central account if you're an Amazon FBA seller or an Amazon FBM seller. And I'm saying this because I've heard many horror stories in the past of Amazon sellers getting burned by a service provider or a virtual assistant or even one of their employees who had either too much access or shouldn't have had access in the past. They were granted access in this particular console, and they really screwed things up for those particular sellers. So you have a right as an Amazon seller to be careful with who you grant access to, and also to really carefully manage what those permissions are, and ask yourself and ask them, do you really need edit access or even view access for certain types of features on Amazon Seller Central? So I hope this kind of PSA helped out. If you have any questions, just ask them in the comments area. And for more information on me and what I do, go to leanmedia.org. That's my official website. Click on blog and video. I have tons of free advice about running an Amazon business. I've been doing it for many, many, many years, both as a publisher and also as an Amazon seller. And I just try to share my advice with other people. I hope it helps. I'll talk to you next time.